Hello, Cardinals. This is 8D Science teacher, Miss Perkins. I'm here to explain Investigation 8.1, Investigating a Storm Surge. Today what you will be getting is a container of water or a beaker of water, the card that gives some directions on it, but you'll also be using this card in the lab. That's why it's laminated. And you will be getting two containers. One, as you can see, it's with clay, and the clay has given you a gentle slope. There's a stick in it. When you put the stick in, all you do is put it down on the plastic and slide it back in so that you can see the tick marks and measure. In the second case, for the second container, it will be clay also, but it'll be more of a steep slope, which would then be a cliff. This stick I left out so I can show you how to put the stick in. So if your stick falls out, what you do is you set it on the plastic. Make sure you can see those black tick marks because those are each a ½ centimeter. And you just kind of push it into the clay so that you can still read the tick marks. Okay. And then from there, and right now mine is a little bit, so you don't want to push it in too far so you can't read it. And you might even need to pinch it a little bit with the clay to make sure it stays standing up. Okay, so from there you will also get some paper towels because you might be splashing around a little bit. The whole point is not to splash necessarily outside of the container, but to leave the water in to get the results that you need. So I will start with the cliff, and your teacher may have the cliff on one side of the room and the gentle slope on the other, so you may flip-flop stations. So from here, where I'm going to go is we are going to learn about the swelling of the storm surge, that when the storm or hurricane comes in, the eye of the hurricane has less pressure on it. So what will happen is that the water will swell up, and then you know basically that the storm surge is coming. In the first case, what you will do is you will put in some water up to the first tick mark, which is a ½ centimeter. And in your data table, it will ask you what the level is. So you will put that measurement in with a non-hurricane, which the non-hurricane is basically stable. It's to the first tick mark, and then you are good to go. In the second column, you're going to get ready for mild storm waves. So what you will do is you will add a ½ centimeter of water because all that water is coming in from the storm surge. So it will raise the second tick mark, which I know you can't see on the camera, but there we go. And what you will do from here then is I'm going to turn it so it's facing the person that's doing the card shaking. And what I have done is I've put masking tape on the edges that you don't want the card to go past the masking tape. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, the card says to push the laminated card in the water very gently towards land. Make a wave about every 1 to 2 seconds for every 30 seconds and observe what happens to the land areas. So one person will take the card and will slide it in basically at the end of the container. One person is going to watch where it raises on the tick marks when the water comes in, and another person will watch where it comes onto the land. And if you have a fourth person, then that fourth person will have to do the data. If you have 3 people, then that third person or second person, I guess I said, which was watching the tick marks, will need to collect the data. So at this point, the technique to do this is to hold on to both sides of the card and not go past the masking tape. So for instance, I would do 1, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, 4, 1,000, 5, 1,000, 6, 1,000, 7, 1,000, 8, 1,000, 9, 1,000. And the whole time, what that person is doing of watching the stick is seeing how far up it goes. And then the third person would watch where how far back on land it went. And in this case, I have a little bit of water, so what I'm going to do is take a couple of paper towels, and I'm just going to set them on the edge here. And then in the second case, after you get 3 trials, so I would do that once, then I would put the card back in and do it 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, and do that for a second time and get a second trial. put down the data, and then do it a third time. And then to get the average, you add all three together and then divide by 3. I will be rounding to the nearest hundredth. Some teachers like to go to the nearest tenth, so be sure you listen to your teacher on which way you want to round your average. Then the card says to do the harsh storm waves. So you need to read the card, and it says to push water from the ocean onto land with the laminated card. Waves should be made as fast as possible, but you have to be careful because the whole point is to keep the water inside the container, or at least every half second, so that the waves in the water are not allowed to flow back down onto Earth. Be sure you push the water and not just a splash. So if I put the card back in, so now we're going to the harsh. If I go fast enough, here at 1, sometimes it will splash out the bottom, but you're going to want to go decently fast. It's like 1, 2, 3, type of thing. And my waves are not quite right because my technique, you got to hold the card pretty steady and stern and then move back and forth. But you don't need to go all the way through and back. It's just a little bit back and forth back here. Then when it comes time to, you take that data, do it a second time, get the data, the third time, get the data. And then when you are done, the trick is to slide the container. Don't pick it up. It's easier if you slide the container to the sink and then tip it and dump it out that way. So that when you are done, you should be able to take the rest of your paper towels. I'm going to go one more time. Sometimes the water sits underneath the clay. And then what you do is you kind of blot the clay, blot the container, make sure it's all dry. If you are absent, Cardinals, you need to make sure you get the data from somebody in your lab station or somebody in class. If you have any questions, be sure you ask your teacher. Have a great day, Cardinals.